What's up, guys, and welcome back to Planet Coaster 2. If you're enjoying this series, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe. If you haven't already, it would be greatly appreciated. In the last episode, we got rid of our teacups and got into a substantial amount of debt instead, thanks to the addition of these three rides. But I still think we're going to be okay financially. Maybe. I did get a lot of good feedback from you guys, though, on these shade structures that we created over top of our queues. Doesn't seem like everyone is necessarily on board with this specific design. So I've got a couple of ideas as to how we can sort of switch that up and maybe make it look a little bit nicer. In addition to that, we also need to figure out some sort of a better queue for the Ferris wheel long term. This, way too short. I mean, if we take a look at even these, this is the longest one that we have, already halfway full, and more guests piling in as we speak. This side, not as bad, but I mean, just because the length of it in comparison, it's about 3/4 of the way full. And again, long term, that's not going to be good. We don't want to have full queues. So I think the first thing that I want to work on is probably switching things up around the Ferris wheel. The most obvious thing that I can think of to do is basically just delete one sort of like outer layer of this path all the way around. And then probably this too. Yeah, we're gonna wanna delete that. And then this, thankfully, oh, we already split that from the building. Okay, you know what? The angled ones then, in that case, we're just gonna delete them. But I think we can still just edit this building, yeah, and we'll just drag these all in. So they'll still line up fine, but we're just kind of gonna push them out a little ways. One of you guys did have a really good idea. Unfortunately, it's not really possible with the way that our path is set up right meow. But the idea was to basically have the queue, or I guess more specifically the exit, go sort of like underneath this path, which again, solid idea, but the front half over here, ooh, I'm gonna have to fill that in too, kind of missed that. The front half would need to be the same height as it is around the back here. It's just not quite tall enough to where we could, you know, get another path to go underneath of this. But again, very solid idea. I think you'll like what we're gonna do today instead.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
And now with that done, I have some unfortunate news, and that is we're gonna have to increase our loan amount because the stuff that we're gonna do next is going to cost money, and well, to be honest, we don't have any money. It'll get better, like I keep saying, it'll hopefully get better. But what I wanna try, if we use our multi-select tool, we don't want to select paths and we don't want to select rides, so that's perfect. We're just going to do one big selection over all of that, and if we duplicate it, it should grab everything. Beautiful. Okay, so I want to see how it would look if we sort of kept the same design, but instead of having it right in front of the ride, pretty much blocking the view of the thing, I want to try to put these like to the side and behind the rides, up along that brick wall. I think it's gonna look kind of cool, maybe. We might have to rethink the gutter situation. And you know what? I mean, we're gonna need this roughly around here anyway, so I'm just gonna temporarily do that. We'll hit undo so we don't actually waste any money. I want to bring a guest up here, just so I can see how it looks height-wise. That's pretty solid. That is pretty solid. And since there's railing up there, you know, it's safe. No one's gonna be sneaking into the queue from the top ropes up here. That would obviously not fly at Toogii World. We couldn't be having that. So I'm gonna mess around with this and see if we couldn't get a roof to fit perfectly around the back. And then the really hard part is gonna be getting another roof to go this direction. You know what I'm saying? But have them mesh as if they were one. This will probably only take an hour, not a big deal.
1 hour later.
There's been a slight change of plans. Turns out the shade structure that we had already completed isn't really gonna work, or I should say wasn't really going to work back in this area. So I'm kind of having to remake the entire structure from scratch. And with that, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to remake an entire roof as well. It should be well worth it. I just have to make sure that the overhang on the front and on the sides here is the same all the way around, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. You know, I'm starting to wonder if we're even gonna have enough money to finish the dang roof. Let me get this one where we need it, and I'll back up so you can see just sort of where I'm at. I've barely started, and we only have $1,600 left. We might be taking out I don't know, maybe another $5, $10, $15,000 loan. We'll see. Time will tell. I've still got a ways to go here. Well, would you look at that? We're 3/4 of the way done with this roof, and we have $40 to our name. Also, we still need to do the gutters and add that, like, plaster ridge cap trim thing underneath here. We've got lights. We've got a ceiling underneath of it, so we're good there. I'm gonna see if we can't just let a little bit of time pass, because the Ferris wheel is still open. Though it doesn't have a proper queue anymore, people are still going to queue up for it, as you can see here. Maybe we'll have to do a little fast forwarding. Ooh, there it is. Okay, 300 bucks isn't gonna get us very far though, because each of these panels costs $128. Yikes. I guess I could finish up the gutters and the additional trim later. We don't have to do that right here, right meow. But there we go. This, more or less, is how it's going to look. And I think, personally, this is the best option for us, right? It's going to give the guests shade, and also, because it's so highly detailed, that is going to increase our Q scenery rating, which means we're going to be able to charge more for the ride, which means we hopefully won't continue living in debt. It's kind of driving me nuts right now, I'm not even gonna lie. So, we're gonna go ahead and pause things now that we have this laid out. I think if we just grab these, oh, it's gonna put that railing all back around it. Not a big deal, not a big deal. We can get rid of that. But what I wanna do with these is put the main entrance here. And then if we grab Prio, we're gonna do the same thing, but put it just next to it. Ooh, they can't get as close as I was hoping for. Hang on. What if we just line this one up with the edge of that column, and then we can pick this guy up again, and we'll do the same. Kind of just get it lined up with the edge of that column. That's probably gonna have to do, right? Ideally, I would like them much closer, but I think that's going to be okay. So we'll have one queue coming out this way, a brick queue, probably. And then the exit is going to go smack dab in the center of this sucker. I think that's going to look the best. As it turns out, it did not look the best. In fact, it looked pretty bad. So what I've decided to use instead is this black vinyl path, no railing. That is very much intentional. I did try it with railing at first, and it looked especially bad. But all we really have to do now is just change the railing type around the ride foundation, and it should look pretty dang solid. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some of you that aren't completely sold on the vinyl path either, or probably aren't even completely sold on the whole shade structure. But believe me, it needed to happen. Otherwise, these rides would have remained way too cheap, and we would have, for real, just been stuck in debt. $4.31. If we hit play, I'm expecting that to go up, but I'm not quite ready to hit play just yet. I do want to try to round this off, maybe? Yeah, that does a lot. That really does a lot. We'll do it on these as well. There we go. The new railing is in. Again, we do still have to, you know, do the finishing touches right on the shade structure there. Shade structure. It's kind of a tongue twister, really. All these people are gonna scatter. And then hopefully... Oh, is this still closed? No, it's open. Hopefully after we get one, maybe two groups on and off, this $4.31 should go up. Oh, we were waiting for the operator. Right. And these people are bugging out on us. Sometimes they just need a little assistance, you know? They just need to be carried for a second and gently placed back down onto the path. All right. Ferris wheel is in motion, and our Q scenery rating is officially 100% for this ride as well. Okay, it's letting people on. I don't think it's actually let anyone off yet, is the problem. I believe the guests do have to exit the ride for this price to change. One of you had suggested also, instead of bargain pricing, we'll just set it to dynamic or premium or something like that. What does dynamic do? Oh, you can min-max it. Yeah, I'm not real big on min-maxing, I'm gonna be honest. So we'll probably just leave it on bargain or premium. God, $5.30? That extra dollar, you'd be surprised. That could really help us out in the long run, you know what I mean? Okay, here we go. That's a lot of people that just got off, and the price has stayed the same. Okay, you know what? I'm not expecting to make buku bucks off of a Ferris wheel, of all things, but we should probably turn our attention to these other queues now. That is not a good look for Toogii World. But we are still broke, so we're gonna have to let some time play out just for a little while. And then also, I didn't really touch on this much, but the reason that I had to remake this same structure over again is because when we made these, I intentionally made the beams and everything more narrow. That way it would fit better around this queue style. But since we kind of needed a wider spread of those for this one, it did have to be completely rebuilt. And it's all one building. I was able to do it all as one building, whereas this is, you know, multiple buildings in one. I guess the only thing that's technically a separate building for this one is that ridge cap, just because it never really lines up right. I much rather prefer to, you know, fine tune that into position. Anyways, how's our finances? 600 and some change. Oh, 900 there. It jumped up quite a bit. Yeah, I think, you know what? We'll just let some time play out here. And we should have enough money to kind of do a similar thing with these two rides.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
$2,000. It's crazy that I'm excited about seeing $2,000 chilling in the back pocket, but we have been kind of down bad. So now that we are finally able to turn a profit, you know, it goes up and then it kind of goes back down and then it goes back up. It has me thinking a little bit differently now about changing these two structures, right? If we did change it, it would be at this point for visual purposes only. We've already got the 100% Q scenery rating, so I'm tempted to just sort of leave it as is, and we'll come back to it later and try to make it look a little bit better. But it's very, very functional at the moment, so I think we're just gonna sort of leave it at that. I'm not loving how they've got this revolving door queue going on, but again, we're gonna have to just sort of forget about it for the time being. So what I want to do next, as soon as we have enough money, I want to add our finishing touches to this little U-shape shade structure that we made. And then after that, I think we need a pool. I think we need to just slap a pool down somewhere, and hopefully that'll just bring in even more money for Toogii World. Ladies and gentlemen, the deed is finally done. It probably doesn't look that much different to most of you, I'm sure, but we have gutters now running all the way around. Let me tell you, it was such a challenge trying to figure out how to do like the drain, but I think it came together pretty nicely. I didn't use as much additional trim as I thought I might need to, because on the underside we really don't need it, whereas with these I couldn't do it without it clipping through the underside. I don't know. I prefer this design more. But of course, feel free to let me know what you guys think down in the comments. The only other additional trim that we have is sort of the A-frame trim just at the top of that thing there. But I like it, dude. I really, really do like it. If you're wondering why I didn't do the roof here, let me find one here just so I can show you what I'm talking about. If you're wondering why I didn't do the roof like this on the corners, it's because it would have been a nightmare. It's almost easier to have just two A-frames meeting like this than it would be to build a custom roof with those pieces to look like that. It would not be super feasible. It might be doable, but I'm just not the person to do it. Anyways, I'm getting very distracted. I think it's time for a pool. Wouldn't you say? We've got $2,600. I'm not sure how far that will really get us necessarily, but I guess we'll find out. And we'll just do swimming depth to see if this is even something we want to continue to pursue. Oh, it costs $80 per. Okay. What if we just had... Is that under the terrain? It is, isn't it? Hey, we've got us a nice looking cave. How is that even... There's no support there. It's like an inch of grass on the top. That's really weird. But if we had a pool about yay big, I'm wondering if that would be enough for a park of this size. Keep in mind it's gonna get larger later when we do the different themed zones and stuff. But for this main zone, I don't know if that's gonna cut it or not. I guess time will tell, right? Time will tell. So all I'm gonna do now is take our flatten to foundation tool, and we're gonna get rid of that weird grass roof that we have over top of this thing. Not a big fan of that, obviously. And we'll just kind of flatten it out a little bit more. Gives us some additional space to work with. And actually, let's flatten all this out too. We really might as well. And just like that, we've got ourselves our very first swimming pool. It's a starter pool, you know. It's to both figuratively and literally get our feet wet in the pool game. All right? But what's this about? Swimming pool 1 is unsafe and needs better lifeguard coverage. You don't say. Yeah, we kind of don't have any lifeguards. Bit of an oversight. And then what else? Oh, no changing rooms. Yeah, that is a problem too. Okay, not a big deal. So, if you guys remember in the previous episode, I was talking about maybe putting a similar sized building both here and here. And I still want to do that, but before we commit to building a building, I think we're gonna plop down some changing rooms and see if we can really utilize this space first. I was thinking something like this. Oh. Too steep. That is a problem. That is a bit of a problem. What if instead then we did something like this? We don't need this many changing rooms. Okay, that's excessive. We'll put them this way. Just in the middle of that area, and then we can do the same thing over here. Again, just to kind of get a feel for it. See what we think about that. Those are changing rooms, right? And not bathrooms? Okay, perfect. Maybe body dryers? But again, I don't think, since the staircase said it was too steep, yeah, that's not gonna fly there. Oh, also it needs power, whereas these changing rooms do not, which is nice. But then on the top side, I wanted to try to do another second story. Kind of like what we did over here, where we have this little ramp giving us that extra height for the basement level. I wanted to do something similar over here, but maybe we're gonna have to do something different. What if, hang on, bear with me a sec. What would it look like if we did a ramp on the side? And then kind of had it come over like that. It looks a little funky. And I think it would probably be better if this was squared off. I don't know, man. Okay, maybe we won't do it like that then. And then if we had a ramp here, it doesn't really give us that much interior space for that second floor. But it could work. Let's do this. We'll start stamping this out. And that'll give us an even better idea of whether or not that should be a thing. Ooh, also, hang on. Let me get rid of this. And it also deleted the stairs. Okay, that's fine. We'll just back it up. No big deal. We'll do that. And then line builder to bring a ramp down this side. That could be something. That could be something. And then these two squares could be, whoops, could be additional facilities for the second floor. Not changing rooms, but just for this, whoops. Not changing rooms, but just for the, why does it keep doing that? But just for the sake of things, I gotta see how it would look. Oh, insufficient funds. Yeah, things do tend to cost money. That's accurate. That could work, man. That really could work. And this is what I think it could end up looking like. Obviously, it's still missing all of the fine details that we've, you know, started to add on every building here. We could do something like that, add some posts at the bottom, add some posts at the top, a little roof. Oh, but then the whole building would be 3 wide. So we'd have to do almost an identical roof to what we have here, but we could get rid of that little bit on the front. And then we'd have top side full of normal size windows, not these little tiny ones. Dude, I've got so much to think about still. I really thought I had all my ducks in a row going into this recording, but it's been 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and I don't know. I'm tempted to hit pause on it, so to speak, and sort of sleep on it, see if I could come up with maybe something a little bit better. Our first group of guests has changed into their bathing suits, ladies and gents. And they're also going to be our first group of guests inside of our brand spanking new swimming pool. Oh yeah, also just a heads up before you jump in, there's no water filtration. Okay, they don't care. They don't care. This water has not been cleaned, and there's no lifeguard, so you're on your own. It's good to see at least one adult is staying with the kid. Good on ya. Good on you guys. But yeah, like I said, I'm just so torn. I don't know if this is really the route that I want to take this, but I think it could work. And if we're worried about having too many food and drink shops, we could convert this to just a single window in the middle and have maybe a food shop over here, and we'll do the same building over here and have a drink shop on its second story. That would be an option. I don't love how there's a railing right here. That's an oopsie. We're not going to talk about that too much. I don't know, man. I just don't know. Wait a minute. Are we charging for pool passes? We are. Yo, and full price $3.69. Okay, so we're making some money off of the 3 people in the pool. That's very cool. This lady looks like she came back here and is wandering. Are we charging for changing rooms? Nope. They're free if you want to. Okay. But yeah, I do think I probably need to sleep on this just a little bit. Just in case, right? Just in case maybe I come up with an even better idea. That way, we're not 100% committed to this particular design. We will have some options. And I was really hoping that I could just kind of undo my way out of that so we didn't waste any of our hard-earned cash. But that obviously was not going to work. I'll leave the changing rooms because we're going to need those regardless, right? How are these 3 people or 2 people? What happened to the kid? Maybe we should hire some lifeguards. I don't know, just a thought. Oh no, he's cool. He's cool. He's up here. Probably just fell into an abyss and got reset to the main entrance. We're fine. Dodged a bullet there. And while it doesn't really feel like we were able to accomplish all that much today, I am unfortunately out of time. So with that, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, leave a comment, help support the dream by smashing that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Peace.